Part 26. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the Beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 251. Then, Tang Qingcheng continued, as for the imperial capital, their strength gap is smaller than ours. So it is a very unwise decision for them to choose to retain their strength like us. It is even possible that they will be eliminated in advance because of retaining their strength. Tang Qingcheng is right. Although the competition rules allow 2-on-3 matches to start. But once the competition starts, even if there are extra members, they cannot be added. In other words, it is very likely that they will kill themselves in 2-on-3 matches early because of retaining their strength or underestimating their opponents. Then there is the second round of the competition, which is also the most important round. In this round, it will be divided into the East and West divisions, and a new provincial ranking will appear. Speaking of this, Tang Qingcheng's tone can't help but become more solemn. In this round of competition, we will definitely meet the players from the imperial capital. At that time, it will be the best time for Bai Ziyi to play. Listening to this, Bai Ziyi and Xia Yunyu nodded. This is indeed an effective method. At least Bai Ziyi thinks so. Because if you don't participate in the first round of the competition, your opponent won't know you. But the situation in the capital was completely different. He had a chance to learn about them. As for the videotape, that was all a thing of the past. Bai Ziyi's current strength has improved, which is still a big gap. So the videotape cannot be used as a reference or basis for understanding Bai Ziyi. We are in the dark, and the other party is in the light. This time, we must not lose. Tang Qingcheng added. He naturally did not forget the task assigned to her by the principal. Since he promised to do it well, he must not be negligent. Okay, let's use this method, Bai Ziyi agreed. In the first round of the game, you and Yinyu will go out to fight. I will seize the time to develop the world and replenish my strength. It just so happened that Bai Ziyi's current planet was still at the peak of the second level. He wanted to seize the time to break through the third level world before the game officially started. In this way, the upper limit of the creatures will be raised, and more creatures can be cultivated. You know, the limit level of the creatures on the second level planet is the peak of the commander level. This is a shackle, the shackle of the environment. If you want to raise the biological realm, you must first let the planet break through the third level. Otherwise, Bai Ziyi will never get a monarch level creature in his lifetime. But are you sure you are sure? Even in the province, there should be many masters, right? For example, Zhao Jinzu. Bai Ziyi felt a little redundant when asking this question. Zhao Jinzu is still locked in the room. Apart from him, it seems that no one is Tang Qingcheng's opponent. However, Tang Qingcheng beside him answered very seriously, you can leave this to me with complete confidence. Don't forget, you are the only one in the province who can defeat the emperor. Her tone was very arrogant, but more confident. Tang Qingcheng used to be very afraid of failure, on the one hand because of her arrogance, on the other hand because she couldn't. Just like the emperors in ancient times, if you want to wear the crown, you must bear its weight. Any decision made will affect the fate of tens of millions of people, and you can't be careless. But when she really felt the failure and the crown on her head fell, she became much more relaxed. There are no such heavy responsibilities, and there is no need to worry about anything. She is now better than before. Yes. It's decided. Xia Yunyu next to her also agreed in time. There is still half a month left, Xiaobai, just concentrate on developing the world. When the time comes, we will make a big splash and blow up those people in the imperial capital. As for Sulan province, we will join forces to blow it up directly. Bai Ziyi didn't say anything more, just nodded. Everything was discussed properly, the goal was clear, and the three of them disbanded on their own. Time waits for no one, Bai Ziyi must break through the world limit as soon as possible. Tang Qingcheng also has to replenish the army and reorganize the Golden Dragon army to deal with this competition. After returning to the room, he fell asleep quickly. A new day, clear sky, and scorching sun. Because of the news that the national competition was announced yesterday, all provinces in the country were in turmoil. This morning, countless school children have already prepared. The fourth in the country, Tianjin Academy, the fifth in the country, and the sixth in the country, Zhou Academy. Wait and so on. Many students from the academy chose to go directly to the imperial capital on the first day. At the gate of Tianjin Academy, the leading boy, with a boy and a girl behind him, looked up into the distance. The new rules of the game are really exciting. This generation must have a place for me, Zhao Qi. Only I can ascend to the highest position in Tianjin. The boy stood with his hands behind his back, his eyes shining. After that, he led the two people behind him and walked straight to the school bus in front. Yang University, also known as Yang University Academy. There was a girl with a rotating sun logo in her pupils, wearing an elegant and intense school uniform, looking into the distance. She said softly, "There are really many opponents in this generation. I just didn't expect that Qing Chen would lose to others first. Is it by Zi? It's really interesting. What you lost, let me help you win it back." The girl's tone was very light, and then she raised her rose-colored long hair and took the two people behind her to get on the bus one after another. Zhou College, also known as the interior of Z1. The boy with earrings and dogtail grass in his mouth sat in place. Next to him stood an old lady in a purple school uniform. "The school bus will be here soon, are you ready?" the old lady asked kindly. The boy spit out the dogtail grass and grinned, "Don't worry, old Dean. I will definitely win a good ranking for our province in this national competition. What genius of the imperial capital, the rising star of the human race, just those two rising stars, see how I beat them down." As he spoke, the sound of the car speeding echoed beside his ears. The various colleges have been completely blown up, and many students are preparing to go to the imperial capital in advance to understand the situation there. The same is true for the children of the noble families and the children of the chaebols in various provinces. In Sulan province, a large number of children of the noble family groups have emerged. With a set of skills and the high-end card decks that the family has assembled for them in recent years, they took a special plane to the imperial capital. "Father, I'm ready. I've been in seclusion for many years. This year is the day for me to shine and dominate the world." The young boy stood under the plane, his face full of youth and determination. The old father who saw him off, the old mother wiped her tears and waved goodbye. "Go quickly, son. Your father believes in you. Remember not to get hurt, and remember to drink the milk you brought." The boy said nothing and boarded the plane directly. The old father behind him was crying and looking up at the sky with his head held back. He couldn't help but sigh, "My son has the appearance of an emperor." Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbs feed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix. Creation of the world, binding God simulator at the beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 252. Speaking of which, it is not entirely a lie. In each province, including the imperial capital, in addition to the schools in the open, there are also many families, aristocratic families, groups, chaebols, hidden clans, etc. They are all hiding in the dark, cultivating their own powerful young generations, and will not hand them over to the school. And the one exposed in the school is only the first person in the open in a province. Perhaps there are stronger people hiding in these hidden families. But don't worry, the probability of such a thing is still very small. After all, the school has the top 10 principals in the country. Their strength has reached the top level of the human race. On the other hand, the family power may not have such a big man. Most of them will still send their children to the school and let more powerful people teach them. Families like Tang Ching Cheng have this idea. In a blink of an eye, a few days have passed. The enthusiasm before the official start of the national competition is still pouring out. Imperial Capital, the capital of the Federation. There are tall buildings here, and skyscrapers rise from the ground. The prosperous streets are crowded with vehicles, and people come and go, all of which show that this place is extraordinary. In one of the buildings, a proud young man put his hands in his pockets. He has purple hair and slightly narrowed his eyes. But through one of the gaps, you can also feel the cold light in this person's eyes and the contempt of looking down on the crowd. Seeing the students from various universities and colleges arrive by car and enter their own competition area, the young man became more and more disdainful. He even shook his head and sighed inadvertently. They are just a group of vulgar people, and they also want to compete with us, the pride of heaven. After all, they are mortals and can't see the situation in front of them. Let me show you what a real son of God is in the competition. After the voice fell, the young boy turned his back and walked away. Since the national competition was opened, each competition area has also been planned. There are special live broadcasts of the competition, and you can also go to the scene to watch the competition in person. To be honest, there are more than 10,000 students in Sulan province alone, and it is unimaginable in other provinces. In addition, there are children of noble families and military personnel who have not appeared. Therefore, the first stage of the competition, in just 7 days, will definitely be very full, basically from morning to night. It is no wonder that the Federation is divided into multiple competition areas based on provinces. Otherwise, if 100,000 or even hundreds of thousands of people were gathered together to play one game after another, it would take who knows when the game would last. The national competition has finally begun. I have been waiting for this moment for a long time. Come with me. After the national competition began, students from many provinces have arrived. I plan to go to the Tianjin competition area first. Zhao Qi from Tianjin Academy is the favorite to win the championship this year. Then I will go to the Yang province competition area. The Sun Goddess has arrived. She is the light in my heart. I will go to the Anyun competition area. I have been looking forward to it. Forget it. The main players of Anyun Academy, the second ranked in the country, have not arrived yet. You won't see anything if you go there. Well, then, I will follow you to other competition areas. At the same time, the people of the imperial capital also began to follow suit. They ran to the competition areas where the top players were, wanting to witness their posture in person. However, the imperial capital suddenly had hundreds of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of people, and living places became a problem. So except for the top players, most of the ordinary contestants lived in high-rise buildings. 3 people lived in a house, and there might not be 3 bedrooms. Fortunately, I heard that in the first stage, 1/10 of the total number of people would be eliminated. That is to say, if there are 10,000 contestants in Sulan province, only 1,000 people can enter the second stage in the end. This way, the losers can go home on the same day. On the other side, in Sulan Academy, Bai Zi and his group received a temporary call from Teacher Zhou. Teacher Zhou came here in person, but they were staying in their own villa. Bai Zi, the situation is a bit urgent. I wanted you to go there later. But people from other provinces have already arrived, and some are on the way. They are all very fast. In order to let you get familiar with your opponents earlier, I want you to go now. Teacher Zhou stood at the door and said anxiously. Finally, she added. In addition, there will be an opening ceremony for the national competition tomorrow. Many students will go. It's right to take this opportunity to get to know your opponents. Listening to Teacher Joe's speech, Bai said no problem. Okay, teacher, then shall we set off now? Anyway, Bai has some things to do when he goes to the imperial capital. For example, Wang Na told him before that she would go to the headquarters of the Star Alliance. In addition, Bai has a lot of money in his hands. In the past few days, he went to the Genesis building in Sulan province several times in order to break through the planet limit. But he didn't find anything good there. So this time, he would take the money and go to the headquarters of the Genesis building in the imperial capital. See if he can find some way to advance the planet there. By the way, buy some useful prop cards, or auxiliary props. After all, the few S-level cards in his hand are used as trump cards. There must be a few cards to keep with him for the remaining games, right? Otherwise, if something unexpected happens, it will be bad to use up the trump cards in advance. Yes, you can leave immediately, Teacher Joe nodded. However, this time we are going to the imperial capital, our Sulan province still has to show some face. The three people were immediately confused when they heard this. Teacher Joe glanced sideways behind her and walked out of the door first. The three looked at each other and then followed her steps. Behind the door, a scene shocked everyone present. A refined and improved helicopter suddenly appeared in front of the three people. The sound of the propeller turning was endless, and the side was engraved with a star pattern, which was extremely magnificent. I will go with you this time, and we can get on the plane now, Teacher Joe said rather domineeringly. Without saying anything more, the group quickly followed behind to board the plane. It was a period of time after Bai and his group left that the presidents of the top 10 colleges and universities in the country disappeared strangely. Of course, this is only for ordinary people. The other creators all know that the top 10 presidents in the country are going to the imperial capital. The opening ceremony at that time will definitely be very grand. So much so that even today, many branches of the Genesis building are already crowded with creators. They all come to watch the live broadcast, and a good environment is very important. It's open, it's open. Small bets keep you healthy, big bets make you rich. I bet on Zhao Qi, I bet he will at least be in the top 3 this year. I bet on the Sun Goddess, she will definitely be in the top 3. What's the point of just betting on people? If you want to bet, bet on the province. I bet on Yanyun province, which is expected to become the largest province in the country this year. Brother, you are so generous, you may have forgotten the goddess of the imperial capital. Then I bet on this year's provincial competition, the imperial capital is definitely the largest province. I bet on Yang province, I bet on Zhongyun province, I bet on Sulan province. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 253. Sitting on the helicopter, Bai Zi entered his own world. Ding, reporting major events to the host. Event 1, available resources around the mother planet, including space debris, have been completely cleared, and the available resources on the mother planet have increased. For a period of time, the amount of food required by the meteorite bugs is sufficient and no longer damages the ecology of the mother planet. Event 2, the meteorite bug reconnaissance force you sent has discovered several barren satellites in the process of opening up the universe. But the satellites are small, do not have world walls, and do not have the ability to breed organisms. Looking at it, Bai Zi briefly fell into thinking. This is part of his plan to send a small group of meteorite bugs to explore the universe. See if you can find any wonders to help the mother planet break through the upper limit. In addition, Bai Zi also wants to find out if there are any planets worthy of being colonized. The upper limit of the mother planet is locked, and both the number of organisms and combat power have been circled. If more organisms are forcibly created, the balance of the mother planet will be broken, causing the world to be crowded and chaotic. But if you can find a colony, it will be different. At least it can't break through the realm limit, but it can break through the number limit. Unfortunately, Bai-Ze also saw the current situation. This barren and short satellite does not even have the most basic world wall. Even if the spiritual energy can be added to revive and nourish the planet, the powerful cosmic radiation will cause the newly born creatures to die instantly. The colony cannot be completed for the time being, so I can only look over there. Bai-Ze recovered and then turned his view to the south of the planet. Event 3, you sent Hyperjeton to lead a large number of meteorite elites and have returned from the storm zone. According to your meaning, entering the world wall, the origin of the planet can assimilate different substances, thereby increasing the territory of the planet. So they moved several giant meteorites from the storm zone and wanted to transport them back to the mother planet for the world to swallow. Unfortunately, it was rebounded. The world seemed to be firmly imprisoned by shackles. Ordinary energy could not be absorbed and the world could not be expanded. Sure enough, this doesn't work. Bai-Ze paused. In a few days, he tried to buy land cards and rain cards. However, these cards could not produce any effect when used on the planet, and all of them were wasted. Then the second method he came up with was to use the function of world assimilation. Transport some water resources or land resources in to see if they could break through the upper limit. There was no way, and the result was also obvious, and the upper limit of the planet could not be broken. However, this time, Bai-Ze paid attention to a different point. Ordinary energy cannot be absorbed. System, if meteorites in outer space are equal to ordinary energy, then is there any extraordinary energy? Bai-Ze asked a strange question. After a while, the system gave an answer. The host is right. Cosmic meteorites, garbage, etc. can only be regarded as ordinary energy, which can be absorbed by the planet, but they do not belong to the same root and origin. Then what belongs to the same root and origin? Bai-Ze asked. The so-called same root and origin is the land that is also full of the will of the world. In layman's terms, it is a world where civilized creatures exist. Or, the world of other creators. Seeing this, Bai-Ze was slightly stunned. Even though it was very obscure, he still understood what the system meant. Invasion. That's right, it was invasion. If you want to take your planet to the next level, you must invade other planets. Destroy their planets, and then seize the land of the other planets, so that your planet can advance. However, there is one thing that has become a problem. First of all, other civilizations in the universe are difficult to find. Especially those weak planetary civilizations that you can deal with, they will hide themselves very well. Not to mention destroying them, it is difficult to find their location. The national competition is coming soon, and this is obviously not a solution. And those planets whose locations you know are mostly the best in the universe. Most of them can compete with the power of the entire Federation today. It is completely impossible for you to kill them. The only thing left is the Creator, Bai-Ze murmured. But he knew that the way of ceding land after defeat would not work. The system does not mean that it only needs land, but the origin of a planet. If the origin of a planet disappears, the entire planet will collapse in an instant. In other words, if you take away the origin of a creator, it can be said that you have killed the other party. And the Federation has clearly stipulated that creators are not allowed to duel privately or kill each other. After all, every creator is a precious treasure of the Federation, and the loss of wealth is absolutely not allowed. This point made Bai-Ze feel troubled. Ding, remind the host that the origin is not only owned by the living creator. Huh, Bai-Ze frowned. What do you mean it is not only owned by the living creator? If the creator dies, won't the origin also be gone? The system continued. Among the creators, there are those whose planets have been occupied and destroyed because of confrontation with alien races or conquest of the starry sky. This type of planet has been seriously polluted by alien races, commonly known as corrupt planets. As soon as the system said this, Bai Zi's eyes lit up. Corrupted planets, he remembered. In the previous match with Zhongpeng, the old principal had given each of them a corrupt planet. This kind of planet is occupied by aliens, or conducts terrorist experiments, or exists as a colony. The origin of the planet has been plundered by aliens, and it has become a real corrupt planet. However, although it is a corrupt planet, the origin in the planet still exists. As long as this kind of planet can be conquered, Bai Zi can get the origin needed for promotion. The most important thing is that the original creator of this kind of planet has died. Conquering this planet does not violate the regulations of the Federation. You mean, let me conquer the corrupt planet and then get the origin, Bai Zi said excitedly. Yes, host. In an instant, Bai Zi had conceived a complete plan in his mind. Corrupt planets are also called copies. Because they originally belonged to the creator will report the coordinates of his planet after the planet is occupied. In this way, in order to fight those aliens, the creation building specially set these corrupt planets as copies of different difficulties. Defeat the corrupted planet, and everything inside will belong to the creator. In addition, the creation building will pay a reward. Many graduated creators generally choose to do this job, or conquer the starry sky and fight against aliens. The origin of the world can be obtained, it does not violate the regulations of the Federation, and you can also get a large reward. Without a doubt, this is the best solution. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the Beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 254. The sound of the helicopter propeller began to slow down, and Bai Zi felt that several people were slowly descending. It was afternoon, the sun was setting, and the sunset was afterglow. Looking down at the ground through the window, it was obvious that several people had arrived in the imperial capital. Oh my God! It's a plane, look! Which family is so generous that they actually flew here directly? Oh my God! It seems that they are not from aristocratic families, but children of the school. What? How could this be? When did the school become so rich that students come directly by plane? Many people on the ground saw this scene, especially the other competition areas. Because the venue is limited, the competition areas are not far from each other. The students who arrived here first can naturally see Bai Zi and his group. The direction they landed seems to be the Sulan province competition area. From this point of view, it should be a good person from Tianzhou Academy. There is only one person who can be sent here by Tianzhou Academy with this specification. If nothing unexpected happens, it's him. At this moment, in the other competition areas, many boys and girls look solemn. Another favorite to win the championship this year, his fame once overwhelmed anyone present. Directly facing the goddess, although not many people believed it. But the little information he revealed was enough to make everyone alert. The helicopter slowly landed, and Bai Zi and the other two finally walked out of it. A middle-aged man in a formal dress came forward. You all came from afar, so you should be students from Tianzhou Academy and Sulan Academy. Nice to meet you. The man stretched out his hand and walked forward, looking like he had been waiting for a long time. Nice to meet you, Teacher Zhou nodded. After a moment of stagnation, the man put his hand down with a sound of hurt. Let me introduce myself. I am the referee of the Sulan provincial competition area and the person in charge of the competition area. The principal of your academy has arrived in advance. He entrusted me to greet you. Everyone is tired from the journey, let me take you to your residence first. Was it the principal's arrangement? This really surprised everyone. The principal, who left a step later, actually arrived early. Haha, if I'm not mistaken, this should be Bai, right? The middle-aged man turned his eyes and showed a mouthful of white teeth. It's okay, I'm just asking casually. I've heard a lot about it before, and I'm just a little curious. The middle-aged man smiled and turned around and said, come with me. I've arranged different accommodations for you, I'll take you there myself. Seeing this, Bai stood still. When he first arrived in the imperial capital, there was a place he had to go to in a hurry. That was the Star Alliance. Now is not the time to go to the Genesis building. The headquarters of the Genesis building is located in the imperial capital, and there are more dungeons there than the branch in Sulan province. There is no need to rush to brush the dungeon in the middle of the night, not to mention that there is an opening ceremony tomorrow, and it is estimated that there is not enough time. But in order to save time, he'd better go to the Star Alliance tonight. This, person in charge, I have somewhere to go. Take them to their accommodation first, no need to wait for me, I'll be back soon, Bai said lightly. The others understood as soon as they heard it. This was what Wang Na had told Bai at the time. Let him go to the Star Alliance headquarters when he is free after coming to the imperial capital. It's okay, take us to our accommodation first. Bai does have something to do, just let him go alone. Teacher Joe helped to smooth things over. In this way, the other party couldn't say anything. Okay, I understand. After nodding slightly, he let Bai leave alone. Take a taxi, Bai designated the location as the Star Alliance headquarters. He had never been to the imperial capital, so naturally he didn't know where the Star Alliance headquarters was. The sun completely set, and the car finally stopped until the moon rose. Bai looked up and saw a tall building standing in front of him. The twinkling colorful stars hung at the highest point, as if there was some kind of magic contained in it, with extremely powerful power. This is the headquarters of the Federal Army. One of the 4 strongest forces in the country, the Alliance of Thousands of Stars, the Star Alliance. Are you here? Bai just got off the car and suddenly heard a very familiar voice. He looked forward and saw Wang Na walking towards him. This scene made Bai slightly confused. I haven't contacted you, how do you know I will come now, Bai said strangely. Wang Na walked up to Bai, shook her head and said, you probably don't know, do you? From the moment you set out from Tianzhou Academy, the news has spread throughout the imperial capital. You are now a star-level figure, the only one who can compete with the goddess. Everything you do is under the observation of others. Wang Na stopped in front of Bai, sighed and continued, not to mention your high-profile appearance. Even the second-ranked Yanyun Academy team in the country didn't come by plane. Everyone wants to keep a low profile and mysterious, but you are so generous that you make a lot of noise as soon as you come. Gestured to the opposite side, Bai understood. Following Wang Na's steps, ready to enter the Star Alliance. But speaking of this, Bai still didn't understand it. That's not right, even if the news spreads widely. How do you know that I will definitely come to the Star Alliance today? After glancing at Bai, Wang Na said leisurely, this is my home. Knowing that you have arrived in the imperial capital, I will wait for you for a while. Do you think that I came all the way from the imperial capital academy to take you up? It's a bit heartbreaking, and even more Versailles. The Star Alliance is her home, and there seems to be nothing wrong with saying this. Well, okay, Bai stopped talking. Afterwards, he followed Wang Na and stepped into the Star Alliance. Let's go, my dad has been waiting for you for a long time. Star Alliance star handsome. This was Bai's first reaction. It has to be said that the interior of the Star Alliance is indeed luxurious. The hanging crystal chandelier, white tiles, red carpets, etc. But if you think about it, you can understand that this is the headquarters of the Star Alliance, and most of those who can live here are high-ranking officials of the Star Alliance. Most of those Star soldiers stayed in the branch, and they were not even qualified to live in the Star Alliance. Hello, Star Captain. You've worked hard, Star Captain. Along the way, people greeted the side from time to time. Wang Na nodded in agreement and chuckled. But when they looked at Bai Zi, they inadvertently showed a look of shock. This made Bai Zi feel strange. Ding. Take the elevator and go all the way to the top floor of the Star Alliance headquarters. We're here. My dad, including several Star commanders who want to see you, are on this floor. It's the room in front. Wang Na stretched out her hand and pointed to one of the few rooms on this floor. So, Bai Zi adjusted his nervous mood a little and walked over with Wang Na. Dad, people are here. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 255. Opening the door, a strong retro atmosphere hits you. Dark desk, messy books and papers, and the flower-shaped lamp. Matched with a picture of mountains and rivers hanging in the front. It feels like the scenery of Bai Zi's previous life, the office of a warlord in the 1990s. Looking around, there are a total of 4 people in this room. On the sofa on the left, there are 2 strong old men in green military uniforms, about 60 years old. The sofa on the right is empty, and there is a bronze-skinned man sitting behind the desk under the portrait. As for him, there is a girl. A bright white school uniform, and a head of wine-red long hair. But just after Bai Zi and the others came in, a group of people looked at them. Dad, I have brought the person you are looking for you. If you have anything to say, just look at it and say it. Wang Na stood aside and gave her seat to Bai Zi. Seeing this, the bronze-skinned man in the middle pursed his lips, his eyes still a little lingering. You are, classmate Bai Zi, right? The tone was very light. Bai Zi nodded and replied, it's me. Wang Xinggui said that some people at the Star Alliance headquarters want to see me. So I came here as soon as I arrived in the imperial capital. Hearing this, the man in the middle came back to his senses and glanced at the girl in front of him. You go out first, I'll do your thing for you later, he whispered. The girl nodded, and then turned and left without saying anything else. When she passed by Bai Zi, her eyes stayed on Bai Zi for a second, and her eyes were meaningful. Then she left the office and closed the door by the way. Bai Zi was puzzled. It seemed that the other party knew him, not only knew him, but was also quite familiar with him. Oh, suddenly, the man opposite stood up and stretched out his hand, saying, Brother Bai Zi, Brother Bai Zi. Don't be nervous. I asked Nana to come here just to chat with you, not to interrogate a prisoner. Don't stand there all the time. He pointed to the sofa on the right and said some polite words. Bai Zi is a student, but he has also won the honorary member medal issued by the Star Alliance. In the Star Alliance, he can also be regarded as a star soldier. So it doesn't seem too much to call him a little brother. Wang Na took the lead and sat over, just like going home. Bai Zi simply didn't waste time and followed her steps. You are, Wang Huingshui, right? Bai Zi said after sitting down. He recognized it, or in the huge federation, no one didn't know this name. The shining 6-star badge, and the breath exuded from time to time. That feeling is no longer an ordinary creator, but a sublimated god. And not only him, but the other 2 old men sitting there also have this breath. Obviously, there are 3 of the 8-star commanders in the room at the moment. Yeah, speaking of it, we are also half superiors and subordinates. But I'll introduce you to them. You probably don't know these 2. Turning his eyes to the side, the 2 old men were smiling and waving. The one on the left is the 2nd star of the 8 stars, Mr. Hong, and the one on the right is the 3rd star, Marshal Du. The 8 star commanders are ranked according to their personal strength. The strongest ones are stationed at the headquarters of the Federation, and the rest guard the borders of the Federation to prevent foreign invasions. Originally, the other commanders also wanted to meet you. But it takes a lot of time to rush back from the border, so I didn't come, Wang Ho said helplessly. There's no need to introduce me, I think you should know it too. Bai Ziyi looked directly at the man in front of him and nodded silently in agreement. Wang Ho was different from the last time when he faced the Lich crisis. He shaved off his sloppy beard, and he still maintained a strong body in his middle age. So at this moment, he still looks quite handsome. Okay, Wang Ho took a breath and sat down again. The introduction is over, so let's get into today's topic. He changed the subject and said with a smile, Brother Bai Ziyi, as the Star Commander of the Federation, the first star of the Star Alliance, and one of the highest leaders of mankind today. On behalf of the Federation, the Star Alliance, and all mankind, I thank you for your contribution. Bai Ziyi nodded slightly. He had heard this from Wang Na once. He knew that the purpose of coming here today was definitely not these. Then, I want to ask you some questions. Sure enough, Wang Ho got to the point the next moment. As far as I know, when you were fighting against the Lich before, Nana had searched for your specific location. But it was cut off by a mysterious force in the middle. Even when I went to find out afterwards, I only caught a little signal pointing to Sulan province. As he said, Wang Ho narrowed his eyes slightly. Afterwards, with approval, the Federation activated the strongest detection system, the Eye of God. But the Eye of God cannot detect the source of the signal, not even a trace. Bai Ziyi heard this and already knew what he was going to say next. This question was overshadowed by the heat of defeating the Lich, and even Wang Na did not ask in detail. But he knew very well that it was only a matter of time before he would face doubts. Brother Bai Ziyi, the Federation has recorded the files of every citizen. You don't have a very powerful family background, how can you block the investigation of the Federation's precision calculator? Even the Eye of God becomes a pile of scrap metal in front of you. Could it be that you have mastered some more advanced shielding device? Wang Ho crossed his hands and stared at Bai Ziyi. Or are you, an alien? Instantly, everyone was silent. The Eye of God, the most advanced investigation device in the Federation civilization. If there is something that it cannot spy on, then the other party must be an alien. Because only aliens can master more advanced technology than the Federation. Bai Ziyi was speechless when asked. The two elders around him also squinted at Bai Ziyi, with a bit of unkindness in their eyes. But at this moment, a voice broke the silence. Dad. Wang Na held her face, bored. Are you asking too much? Wang Na said weakly. The man opposite said and his open mouth closed again. Well, Nana, the atmosphere that Hoshui created with great difficulty was ruined by you. The old man next to him laughed. Another person nodded quickly. Wang Na waited for a while and said, if Bai Ziyi is an alien, why fight the Lich who is hostile to the Federation? Is it still wolf on wolf? Wolf on wolf, as the saying goes, the bad guys kill their companions who are also bad guys to win the trust of the good guys. Besides, there is a record of Bai Ziyi's awakening. Even if the aliens want to find a substitute, they can't find Bai Ziyi, right? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 256. Bai Ziyi knew exactly what Wang Na was talking about. Whether it's blocking the signal or his own rise, it doesn't seem normal. Let's not talk about blocking signals for now, let's talk about my own rise. A person who begins to awaken to a planet has only one world wall, that is, only the origin of the world. But soon the planet without land and ocean developed to that scale. A warrior creature was created in just 7 days, and in the freshman test it was even more powerful than the leader. You must know that the rest of the genius monsters have a large planet area at the beginning, which is enough to intuitively see their talents. By a person who is not in line with the public, will naturally make others suspicious. That is, the original By was replaced. Standing in front of them now was a spy from a foreign race. Of course, this is all nonsense. Even if the foreign race really wants to switch the package, they can sneak into the human race and work as spies. Then it is impossible to choose someone with such a big contrast between before and after. It is really not a wise move. Well, By started, I do have some methods of my own. Everyone in our school knows about this problem. However, you also understand that this kind of thing cannot be said casually. By shrugged. Everyone has a secret. Wang Ho understands this truth better than anyone else. Just like himself, he also has some unknown secrets. Huh, okay. Wang Ho breathed a sigh of relief. In an instant, the pressure that spread in the room disappeared. Originally I just wanted to test it out and see if I could get some information. It's all my fault that my prodigal daughter makes trouble for me. Wang Ho smiled bitterly. Wang Na turned her head away, seemingly out of anger. You can rest assured, although I have some tricks of my own. But there is no harm to the Federation or the Star Alliance. By expressed his position. An unknown person is not scary, but an unknown strong person is scary. Based on By current performance, it is inevitable that he will become the strong one. Therefore, other people will subconsciously be wary of him, or make friends with him. Apparently, that's the idea of the Covenant. By was the first to express his stance and decided to stand on a united front with the Star Alliance Federation. So from the opponent's perspective, By went from a mysterious strong man to the title of an ally. This will make the Federation greatly lower its guard and even go all out to cultivate By I see. Wang Ho waved his hand, sat upright again and said, the next thing is the second thing. Nana has given the medal that represents the honorary member of the Star Alliance to you, right? When By heard this, he was stunned for a moment, then groped around on his body. Is this what you're talking about? Opening his fingers, the badge with the shining gold star suddenly appeared in By hand. Wang Ho on the opposite side nodded slightly, and then said, put it away. By took back the badge strangely. He continued, in recent times, you should have understood the meaning of this badge from other people's mouths, right? By who put away his badge, frowned and replied, yes. The 11th star of the Federation, a rare world star in human history, and the only person in the contemporary era who directly confronts the goddess. As he said that, the man opposite him suddenly crossed his fingers again. Then have you ever regretted it? He said solemnly. Actually, I'm very sorry. I gave you this badge without your knowledge at that time. Honestly speaking, you are now at the forefront of the storm, and you are the driving force behind the entire Star Alliance. The old principal once told By about this issue. The Star Alliance intends to create gods. This era is too extraordinary. Guan created a goddess, and then decided to take the first place in the new generation, and then suppress the Federation. Don't you think it's a bit ordinary and boring? It was too absolute, or in other words, there was no suspense, and there was no sense of expectation. What the Star Alliance has to do is to add some color to this life. More colors, colors that can confuse the human eye. So, Wang Xing's Huai means. I want to give you another chance, Wang Ho said with a solemn expression, an opportunity that you can choose for yourself. I can take back your medal here in the name of the Chief Star Commander of the Star Alliance. In this way, there will no longer be so many people targeting you. If you accidentally fall down, it will naturally be much lighter. Of course, the Star Alliance will repay your contribution in other, more substantial ways. Whether it's money, star cards, or various resources to develop the planet, we can provide it. The Star Alliance can even make an exception to ensure that you can at least reach the position of Star General in the future. Federal Star General, 5-star senior official. That is a high position that ordinary people, even powerful people, may not be able to reach in their lifetime. Because the Star Alliance is different from others, money and connections are of no use here. If you want to be promoted, you can only make continuous meritorious service and gain seniority, no matter who you are. But it is a place like this that is willing to make an exception and break the original rules to pieces for Bai-Zi. So, I want to hear your answer. Once again, the scene fell silent. Even Wang Na turned her head and looked at Bai-Zi expectantly. At this time, a voice came. I have no regrets. This should be the answer that the Star Alliance wants to hear, right? Bai-Zi raised his head slightly and said melancholy, you are right, I am now in the center of the storm. Who is the goddess? I have heard about it. She is the trump card of this generation of the imperial capital, the 10th star of the Federation, and the goal that countless people want to pursue. If I play against her, I will inevitably encounter many troubles. Bai-Zi's tone was very relaxed, but he knew the importance of the matter. When the national competition begins, the spearheads of the major players will definitely point to him. No one wants to be lost in the crowd, so naturally they have to find a giant's shoulder to jump on and let themselves fly higher. There is no doubt that Bai-Zi is that giant. It is an existence that everyone wants to step on. But the purpose of the Star Alliance is nothing more than to make this life less monotonous. Just right, I think so too. Bai-Zi's eyes were slightly sharp. Because I worship a goddess, I keep chasing after her. I treat her as the scorching sun, constantly chasing after her, eager to surpass her, and want to win her attention. This is too boring, I don't like it. Similarly, I don't like others chasing after me. Raising his eyes, Bai-Zi glanced at everyone in the field. Then he sighed, I prefer to let others look up, and then be left far behind. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 257. So, since this opportunity has come to me, then even if it's for a little more fun, I won't choose to refuse. The road is long and difficult, but I want to reach the top in one step. Bai-Zi leaned forward slightly, and the room suddenly became quiet. The two old men on the left looked at each other, and looked at Wang Ho who was sitting in the middle with uncertain eyes. Wang Na raised her eyebrows, her expression was obviously surprised. Bai-Zi's words were more than just crazy. There was even a hint of provocation in them. And Wang Ho, who was being paid attention to, shifted his eyes and finally set his sights on Bai-Zi. Hum, hum hum hum. Wang Ho's face was surprisingly calm, but his voice could not hide his excitement. If you listen carefully, you can even hear a slight tremor. He leaned back and stood up instantly. I already know your attitude very well. Wang Ho lowered his head and sighed, then slowly walked towards Bai-Zi. He stretched out a hand and said to Bai-Zi, then let's work together to add more color to this national competition. Let's make this generation of bloody storms more chaotic and disorderly. Comrade Wang Ho narrowed his eyes slightly. Seeing this, Bai-Zi also stood up and stretched out his hand to shake it. At this moment, it was no longer a relationship between superiors and subordinates, nor was there a distinction between high and low. It was just like-minded and had the same goal. This year is far better than the previous 12 years. With such an unprecedented grand occasion, the Star Alliance does not want to see one person dominate the world. Then what's the point of being the same as in previous years? As someone once said, the unchanging rules should be changed. Although this is still far from changing the world, it is at least a good sign. After retracting his arm, Wang Ho sat back in his seat. We have talked about the important things. Let's talk about you next. The atmosphere in the room eased a lot, and even the other party's voice became lower. Then, Wang Ho briefly chatted with Bai Ziyi about trivial matters. Because Bai Ziyi has been in this world for 18 years, he has quite a lot of experience. He. It is undoubtedly a good thing to be born in this era and stand in your position. Have you thought about what to do after graduation? Bai Ziyi was slightly stunned. When asked what he wanted to do after graduation, he really hadn't thought about it carefully. It seems that in the Federation, the best choice for the creator after graduation. Either surrender to the Star Alliance and become a hero defending the Federation. Or join the creation group, which is what Bai Ziyi said before, clean up the corrupted planets and get paid. Of course, entering the Federation to get a job is an opportunity for very few people. I don't think I've really thought about this. Bai Ziyi shook his head and said. Generally speaking, interstellar universities are 4-year systems. But you may not know that if you have excellent grades or have outstanding performance, you can graduate early. What Wang Ho said once again touched Bai Ziyi's knowledge blind spot. The benefits of graduating early are huge. Not only can you get in touch with the outside world before your peers, you can also be recruited by major forces with your early graduation status and receive a lot of treatment. How is it? There is nothing good about Tianzhou Academy. Do you want to consider transferring to Imperial Capital Academy? Suddenly, Wang Ho changed the subject, causing Bai Ziyi to not understand. When you go to Imperial Capital Academy, I can guarantee you and let you graduate early when you reach the age. I just want to ask you, our Nana is good, right? Wang Ho paused, really asking Bai Ziyi. The latter frowned and glanced at Wang Na along the other's line of sight. Well, senior sister Wang is very capable and outstanding, she is indeed good. Marquis Wang glanced at Bai Ziyi and interrupted, I'm not asking you that. Nana is the school belle of the Imperial Capital Academy. Marquis Wang leaned forward and lowered his voice, I want to ask you, are you interested in marrying into my Wang family? I will personally come forward at that time to guarantee you a bright future. Don't talk about the broken star general you just talked about, it's not impossible for you to sit in my position in the future. Hearing this, Bai Ziyi couldn't help but widen his eyes. Suddenly, a chill emerged around him. You are so good, Marquis Wang, you don't even play like this when you pull people. That's right, you are so old, and you don't know how to be ashamed. It's so shameless, using your own daughter to pull people, you can think of it. Before Wang Na said anything, the two elders on the left stood up and spoke. Last time, I tried to persuade you for a long time, but you refused to agree to our marriage. So you want to play the long game and look down on our family. They became more and more excited. Although the entire Federation is very united, there will still be open and secret struggles between the major forces. Many forces with some power will recruit people in advance. Select some talented students in the school who don't have a big background and give them some benefits. Then ask them to promise to join a family or group in the future. Obviously, Wang Ho was targeting Bai Ziyi, so he was scolded. Hey, I. Wang Ho pointed at the opposite side and said unconvinced, why are you so jealous? If you have the ability, I won't stop you. You can't eat grapes, but you say they're sour. Did I say anything wrong? Dad. Suddenly, Wang Na shouted. In this moment, the scene was immediately quiet. Wang Ho leaned back and didn't look at Wang Na directly. As if it wasn't him who had just spoken. Really? Shameless. The two old men also sat down while cursing. Cough cough. Bai Ziyi paused, cleared his throat and said, Wang Xinghui, thank you for telling me about this. Regarding early graduation, I do have plans in this regard. But I'm doing well in Tianzhou Academy, so I don't intend to transfer schools. As for early graduation, I think I can do it on my own. Bai Ziyi answered word by word. With Bai Ziyi's current contribution, early graduation is indeed not a problem. What's more, this is before the national competition. Even if you say so, Tianzhou Academy is only 9th in the country, and it is the last of the 10 major universities. If you come to the Imperial Capital Academy, in the federal capital, you can not only enjoy more resources, but also grow faster, right? People always go to higher places. This truth, Wang Ho believes that Bai Ziyi knows. In the past, many transfer students of the Imperial Capital Academy were sent in after being discovered from other provinces. Of course, they are also happy to enter the Imperial Capital Academy. After all, it is the first university in the country, and it is also the center of the federal capital. It's a pity that Bai Ziyi shook his head. It is indeed the last now, but after the national competition, I believe that I will transfer to the Imperial Capital Academy, and it is better to stay in Tianzhou Academy. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the Beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 258. When these words came out, the expressions of the people present froze. There is obviously something behind these words. Going to the Imperial Capital Academy is not as good as staying in Tianzhou Academy. Doesn't this mean that after the national competition, Tianzhou Academy will surpass the Imperial Capital Academy? The Imperial Capital Academy has won the national championship for many years. Including some of the top figures in the current federation, such as Wang Ho, they all came out of the Imperial Capital Academy. There is no doubt that the Imperial Capital Academy is already a towering tree in the Federation. The roots are deeply rooted in the soil, no one can shake it, no one can match it. Even if the school ranking is changed to the provincial ranking this time, Wang Ho knows that the school ranking will still appear. It is tacitly approved by the Federation and is also hoped by all major colleges and universities. Haha, young man, don't be so arrogant. You know better than me who your opponent is, Wang Ho said with a smile. Tianzhou Academy is currently ranked 9th and the Imperial Capital Academy is ranked 1st. If you really want to completely crush the Imperial Capital Academy, then there is only one way. Win the championship. But this is difficult, even unrealistic. Let's not talk about the monster-like sons of God in the Imperial Capital Academy. But the goddess who has never met is the one who is given hope by the entire Federation. Is it possible to defeat her? Isn't this what you want to see? Bai Ziyi asked back. This question stunned Wang Ho. However, Bai Ziyi continued, how about this, Wang Xinghui, how about we make a bet? Let's bet whether Tianzhou Academy will surpass the Imperial Capital Academy after the national competition. Bai Ziyi knew very well that this was what the Star Alliance wanted to see. It's not that they intentionally want to target the Imperial Capital Academy. It's that they are too playful, and the Star Alliance is more willing to see such exciting things. Even the entire Federation hopes that such exciting things will happen. As for the bet, just as you said just now, if I lose, I will marry into the family. But if I win, you can just give me something you think is precious. Wang Na was about to say something when she heard it, but was interrupted by Wang Ho's words. Haha, you kid, your calculations can be heard even in outer space. But I am the great Federation Star Marshal, so what if I bet with you? To be honest, I really hope you can win. But from my point of view, you can't do it. You should know what is in front of you. Bai Ziyi certainly knows. It's a huge tree. The huge Imperial Capital Academy is like a majestic tree. How can an ordinary mortal raise an axe to chop down this huge tree? In the final analysis, the power of one person is still too pale and powerless in front of such a large team. But what no one here knows is that there was once a giant who created the world with an axe. Don't worry about it. I have a sense of propriety. The badge was forced on him, and at least he had to get some benefits. Bai Zi thought so in his heart, but he would not say it out loud. Okay, we have talked about almost everything today. If there is nothing else, you can go back. Next, we will prepare for the national competition. By the way, there will be an opening ceremony before the national competition tomorrow. Don't forget to go. Your opponents will appear at that time. You can observe them in advance. Wang Ho relaxed a lot and lay down on the recliner. Bai Zi nodded. It was indeed late and he should go back. Nana, Bai Zi doesn't know the way. You can just send him back, Wang Ho added at the end. Wang Na stood up first and didn't say much. Then I will go back. Watching Bai Zi leave, the door of the office closed. Wang Ho curled his lips slightly and showed an admiring look. He is looking forward to this national competition more and more. You were just being so mean. Why did you make that kind of bet with my dad? He was just trying to stimulate you. What if he loses? Walking in the corridor, Wang Na complained sadly. However, Bai Zi didn't care at all, as if he was determined to win. Don't worry, Wang Xingwei. I dare say I can do it naturally. Looking back at Bai Zi, this was the first time Wang Na felt worried. In the war to annihilate the Lich, he and Bai Zi were half comrades in arms. Even at that time, Wang Na was not as nervous as she is now. That was winning the championship, winning the national championship. In the same era, stand out in the fight of nearly hundreds of thousands of people in the Federation. You have to surpass tens of millions of people and crush many geniuses to reach the top. Even the difficulty is greater than fighting against the Lich at that time. Ah! Wang Na sighed silently. But just as the two walked towards the elevator, a person who was sticking to the wall suddenly blocked them. The two stopped and looked closely. It was a girl with wine-red hair. The girl didn't pay attention to Wang Na, but simply stared at Bai Zi. After a short stalemate, she was the first to speak. You are Bai Zi from Tianzhou Academy. Wang Na beside her glanced at Bai Zi, and then at the girl standing in front. She was wearing the uniform of Yang University, with the sun logo on her chest. This represents the fifth largest university in the country, Yang University. I'm Bai Zi. What's the matter? Bai Zi also looked at her and said strangely. The other party shook her head and just stared at Bai Zi with a calm expression. Nothing. It's just that we met suddenly and I want to see what the person who defeated Qing Cheng would be like. Defeat Qing Cheng? Tang Qing Cheng? Could it be that they know each other? Bai Zi realized something. So how do you feel now that you have met? He asked back. The other party just shook his head again, without any emotional fluctuations. No feeling. I'm Qin Xinlian from Yang University. See you at the competition. I will defeat you and completely crush everything about you. After the girl finished speaking, she shook her long wine-red hair and went in the opposite direction of the two. Bai Zi looked back at her strangely, a little confused about what she meant. I think I should go back and ask Tang Qing Cheng, maybe she knows. They took the elevator downstairs and walked out of the Star Alliance headquarters together. It's almost December now, and the weather at night is already slightly cool. Bai Zi took a deep breath and tried to calm down. Next, the national competition will officially begin. Bai Zi knew very well that it was absolutely impossible for him to fulfill his boast just now. He had to hurry up, because there was still about a week before the second stage of the competition. Before that, Bai Zi had to find a way to upgrade his planet to the third level. Otherwise, if he lost the bet, he could only marry into the family and inherit the 10 billion assets. Just thinking about it made people cry inexplicably. Get in the car, I'll take you back directly. Bai Zi turned his head and Wang Na had already parked the car beside him. Without saying much, Baize got in the car and the two drove away. Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbspeed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 259. After returning, Baize quickly found where they lived. I heard that each province would select a few ace teams. These teams would receive special treatment. Whether it was accommodation, food, or other aspects, they were different from other players. There was no way, the ace team belonged to the school, and only the school could recommend it to the Federation, which the aristocratic families could not do. After all, the school was directly affiliated with the Federation, while the aristocratic families were independent and even secretly competed with the Federation for talents. This made the Federation quite suppress these families. The second day after arriving in the capital, the special car arrived early in the morning. Starting from the independent apartment, not only Baize and his party, but also the top players in other competition areas also gathered in the center of the imperial capital. This is also the imperial capital competition area, and today's opening ceremony will be held here. We are almost there. Today's opening ceremony of the national competition will be held in the center of the imperial capital. The venue is limited, so only a part of the contestants were selected to go to the scene to watch the ceremony in person. Seeing that they were getting closer and closer to the destination, Teacher Joe briefly explained the situation to the students. The venue for this opening ceremony is an open-air venue, which is divided into 3 stages. It starts with the top leaders coming out, and then the ace teams from each province are introduced. When the time comes, you will see your real opponents. The 3 people in the back seat nodded slightly, and there were already crowds of people outside the car. This is the center of the imperial capital, the most prosperous city. Today is the opening ceremony of the national competition. Even if you are watching the ceremony outside, countless people are flocking to it. What is the third part? Baize asked. The third part is directly related to you. Today's opening ceremony will be broadcast live to all contestants. Then the draw for each competition area will begin, which is the electronic lottery. As long as the team registered before, they will participate in this electronic lottery. Teacher Joe's tone became more serious, and he continued, after the electronic lottery is over, the first stage of the competition will officially begin tomorrow. It's also the time for you to prepare to go on stage. Looking at the rearview mirror, the 3 did not react much. The first stage of the competition is just a small fight after all. The opponents are all from the province, and everyone knows who is strong and who is not. Only in the second stage, confronting strong people from other provinces and carrying the honor of the province, is the top priority. The car drove all the way into the open-air stadium. The group got off the car and walked through a passage leading directly to the stadium. The moment they walked into the stadium, the scene in front of them was extremely shocking. The intricate lights were swaying wantonly, like a sunny day, extremely dazzling. Looking up, nearly tens of thousands of spotlights lit up at the same time, hanging around the zenith of the stadium. In the center of the top of the stadium, there is an oval hollow. The sun's rays shone in, mixed with spotlight rays, illuminating every dark corner nearby. Surrounding the central competition venue are hundreds of marble columns, engraved with complex gilded patterns, magnificent and majestic. And the position where Baize and his team stood was the spectator seat. Looking around, it seemed that there was no end in sight, as if it was so far away that it was covered by clouds and mist. According to detailed calculations, this open-air venue can accommodate at least 100,000 people. It covers an area of 300,000 square meters, and there are many floating platforms in the air, which can also accommodate a lot of people. It's so big here, Xiaoyunya couldn't help but sigh. At this time, there were already thousands of people sitting in the entire venue. There is no doubt that those who can come here must be the ace members of each province. Find a seat and sit down first, the opening ceremony is about to begin. The three of them sat down quickly. Outside the venue, there were crowds of people, and the sound of helicopters was accompanied from time to time. It started. I already have a picture here. Oh my God, look at the sky. It seems that our area has been blocked, even the Federation Star Marshal has arrived. There were shouts outside, and the sky above the entire venue suddenly shook. Even the contestants sitting in the venue felt a creepy breath. They all looked up, and under the sky, rows of helicopters blocked the sun. 8 figures appeared in different positions, as if connected into a pattern, and each of them exuded a terrifying aura. Heaven, look up at the sky. It's the 8 star commanders of the Star Alliance, one of the highest combat forces in the Federation, all of them are here. The venue, which was just silent, suddenly rang with a loud voice. Driven by some people, all the players' eyes were focused on the hollow area. Is this the commander of the Star Alliance, the pinnacle of the Federation? With this kind of aura, I'm afraid each of them is at the upper god level. I think it's more than that, even if it's the main god level, I feel there's no problem. The players trembled. Above the 5th level planet, breaking through the god level means officially obtaining the godhood. The god level is also divided into 5 levels: lower god, middle god, upper god, main god, and finally the god of heaven. Reaching the main god basically means the highest combat force of the Federation. Because according to rumors, the entire Federation has not yet produced a god of heaven, and no one has reached the limit of the planet master. Bai Zi looked up at the sky. There were 3 familiar faces among them, and he didn't know the other 5. But all 8 of them were wearing star-colored military uniforms with several badges on their chests. Some indicated their identities, some represented the Star Alliance, and some directly symbolized the Federation. It can be seen that the cards were fully drawn. However, while watching them, Bai Zi also saw some familiar figures on the platform suspended in the air. It was a pity that they turned their backs to Bai Zi and just sat there calmly, so he didn't know their specific faces. Ahem. I declare that the opening ceremony of this national competition has officially begun. Suddenly, on the floating platform in the center of the venue, an old man with his hands behind his back appeared. His voice was sonorous and powerful, and it hit people's hearts without any amplification tools. Everyone's eyes were drawn and stared at that position. First of all, thank you all for coming from afar. Everyone present is the ace of each province and the main player participating in this national competition. I won't say much nonsense, I will start to explain to you directly. Following the old man's gaze, everyone present looked up. The 8 star commanders of the Star Alliance are responsible for the safety of this national competition and are regular inspectors. The 8 star commanders stood in the sky and nodded in agreement. Responsible for providing the venue and the schedule of this competition. The founder of the Genesis Group, Mr. Cai. On the suspended platform, a position blocked by glass. A slender figure appeared and nodded in response. Finally, I think my students know me more or less. I am the host of this national competition, and also the principal of the Imperial Capital Academy. As soon as the voice fell, hundreds of large screens hanging on the ground turned on instantly. After a moment of silence in the venue, thunderous applause followed. Creation of the World, Binding God Simulator at the beginning. Author, Yefeng Feng. Chapter 260. That is, the Principle of Imperial Capital Academy. Bai Zi squinted his eyes slightly while applauding. The Imperial Capital Academy was a hurdle he had to cross. It is not unreasonable to say that the Imperial Capital Academy can continue to be the top school. The aura of the principal of the Imperial Capital was not even weaker than that of Marquis Wang yesterday. There are a lot of things going on today, and there are electronic draws between provinces in the back row. So I don't want to waste your precious time, so let's start directly with the provincial representatives. The principal of Imperial City turned his head and looked at the largest screen behind him. At the same time, the whole country was in a state of excitement as the opening ceremony officially began. Knowing the website of the live broadcast of the opening ceremony, countless people flocked to the live broadcast to watch the ceremony. Creators gathered together in each provincial Genesis building branch. The few screens were crowded with the creator who came to watch the ceremony. The Star Alliance and Star Soldiers also stayed at the branch base to watch the show in their spare time. There are also aristocratic families with descendants or senior members of the family whose children compete in the competition. Holding a luxurious instrument, he watched the principal of the Imperial City give a passionate speech. Of course, the school is indispensable for those older seniors who have not had the chance to participate in the national competition. They all hid in the dormitory, gritting their teeth and watching the live broadcast on their mobile phones. Especially those who are only 1 year older, their back molars are almost broken. Such a good opportunity, but it turned out that I was only 1 year older. Among ordinary people, there are also many who have children participating in the competition. Downstairs in the community, the ants gathered around. When the live broadcast screen scrolled, Auntie jumped up. Look! That's my daughter! I saw my daughter! My daughter has honored my ancestors. The screen stayed on Xia Yunyu for a second, and then disappeared again. At this moment, except for the earth-shaking outside world, students from various schools and provinces who had already arrived at the competition site also took their mobile phones and computers to silently follow the live broadcast of this national competition. Even players who have not yet started or are already on the road are attracted by it. This time the ace players from each province will finally make their debut. Besides the few known ones, I really don't know how many others there are. I'm already getting excited. The official competition is tomorrow. Returning to the competition site, the picture appeared on the big screen. At this moment, the number of people in the live broadcast room has exceeded 10 million. The principal of Imperial Capital said, "First of all, I would like to invite the representative team from Yanyun Province. And the principal of Yan University." As soon as these words came out, Bai Zi observed that nearly dozens of people stood up on his left side. At the same time, an old Mediterranean man also stood up on the floating platform that Bai Zi had just targeted. The old man waved slightly, with a smile on his face. "Holy shit! Is that the ace of Yan? I saw someone. That person seems to be Zhang Tianyun from Yanyun Academy. The trump card of Yanyun Academy this time is a monster rumored to be capable of competing with the goddess." The moment the group of people stood up, there was a commotion. In order to see clearly, many students wanted to stand up. Bai Zi also stared to the left, silently recording this group of people in his mind. Haha, next is the representative team from Tianjing Province. And, the principal of Tianjing Academy. As soon as the people in Yanyun's team sat down, the principal of Imperial Capital spoke again. To the right of Bai Zi and his group, a young man named Zhao Qi led the team to stand up with a confident look on his face. Behind him, there are many aces in Tianjing Province this year. Yes, it's Zhao Qi. The favorite to win this year's championship. I saw it. The principal of Tianjing Academy is also here. 2 top 10 principals suddenly appeared. Will all the top 10 principals in the country be here this time? Hello students, I wish you all get the results you want, Principal Tianjing said with a smile. Immediately, the group of people all sat down. Then it appeared. I think everyone should have seen it before. We invite the Yang Province representative team, the president of Yang University. Yang Province, Yang University, although it is only the 5th university in the country. But when it comes to their reputation, they can even rival the Imperial Academy. On the seat opposite Bai Zi, a girl with long burgundy hair stood up first. Following her were a group of boys and girls wearing bright white uniforms. Of course, there is also the solemn-faced principal of Yang University. My eyes. My eyes. They are so dazzling. Look, it's the team from Yang University. I see my sun goddess. My god is as hot as the sun, burning my heart. The hustle and bustle all around was heartbreaking. The sun goddess they are talking about is none other than the ace of Yang University, Qin Xinlian. It was she who made Yang University so famous. But even though he was far away, Bai Zi could still see the other party's appearance. When he went back late yesterday, he forgot to ask Tang Qingcheng. I didn't expect to see him here again today, and he is still so popular. Qingcheng, I have something to ask you. Bai Zi turned his head and lowered his voice to discuss with Tang Qingcheng next to him. Do you know this Qin Xinlian? Tang Qingcheng came back to her senses and looked at Bai Zi's eyes in confusion. But she still nodded and replied, I know her, what's wrong? I went to the Star Alliance headquarters yesterday and ran into her there. She said some strange things to me and mentioned your name, so. Hearing this, Tang Qingcheng frowned and thought for a while. After a moment, she seemed to understand what was going on. Raising her head, she said, Qin Xinlian is the ace of Yang University, known as the Sun Goddess. When I was young, the Tang family where I was, and the Qin family where she was were old friends. Although the two families are not in the same province, Yang Province and Sulan Province are very close, so we have a lot of exchanges. As she spoke, Tang Qingcheng seemed to recall the past. I've known her for a long time, and I was better than her in talent at that time. Of course, that was only talent, not better than her in actual combat. So she was not convinced, so she made a bet with me, saying that she must compete with me after awakening the planet in the future. Let me never lose to anyone except her before that. Speaking of this, Tang Qingcheng suddenly smiled helplessly. I guess she knew that I lost to you. Then she targeted you and prepared to cause trouble for you. After Tang Qingcheng said this, Bai Zi probably understood what was going on. He nodded gently and remembered this incident in his heart. It's true that he could be shot even when he was lying down. Just because of this incident, Yangda's ace also targeted him. Please welcome the Zhou Province representative team, the principal of the 6th Zhou Academy in the country. Then, the voice of the principal of the imperial capital continued. The boy with earrings stood up coolly and arrogantly. Also in the air, an old lady in a purple robe slowly stood up.